Welcome back, viewers and subscribers. It's your girl, Star Flames, and we're back with another video. In this video, guys, we're gonna talk about Tony Buzbee because he cannot keep his stories together. And one thing we all know, and that is facts, they don't lie. Facts, they don't change. The information gets adjusted, but they don't constantly change in this case. And what we've been seeing is that Tony Buzbee has been such a huge disappointment. His story is consistently changing. Now he has filed a new motion asking the court to dismiss the Jay-Z lawsuit against him and his client, who I love to call the VMA bandit. What Tony Buzbee is saying is that Jay-Z had agreed with him that he wouldn't have taken any actions against him if he dropped the lawsuit. And now Jay-Z is reneging on his agreement. And I'm like, OMG, this does not make any sense, because in the same sentence, Tony Buzbee is saying Jay-Z bullied his client to drop the lawsuit. So which is it? Did Jay-Z bully your client to drop the lawsuit? Or did you and Jay-Z have an agreement to drop the lawsuit? Like, make it make sense, Mr. Buzbee. Now, I know that initially, when I told a lot of people that they're gonna slowly but surely see that Buzbee is a con man with a con plan, a lot of people were so upset by me saying that. A lot of people were so upset by everything that I predicted back in December about Tony Buzbee. However, feelings are changing because people are waking up to the realization that I was correct. I could literally see through the man. And every time the story changes, the internet had something to back up Buzbee. I don't know how people came up with those excuses when Buzbee was literally not making any sense. No. Yesterday also, there should have been a update on the ruling in terms of the extortion claim, because as you guys remember, I told you guys, that it was not completely out from the get-go. The judge put it aside. He basically put it in the parking lot and say, let me think about this. It's not completely out, but for now, we're going to park it to the side. The rest of the claim will go forward. However, after Jay-Z submitted that recording, the judge was like, okay, let's bring it back to play. However, I still have to deliberate some more. So yesterday we should have gotten an update on that. However, because it's the same judge on the Soulja Boy battery lawsuit, there's some delays on that. However, today Tony Buzbee is saying, Your Honor, please drop this case. Jay-Z bullied my client, and not only that, he promised that if I drop the case, he would not be taking any legal actions. Like, make it make sense. The two things can't be true. Can't, because if Jay-Z had bullied, harassed, and intimidated your client to drop the lawsuit, then Jay-Z wouldn't have made you a promissory note. That doesn't make any sense unless you teamed up with Jay-Z and agreed with Jay-Z to bully and harass your client. So this is Tony Buzbee shooting himself in the foot all over again. Literally. Let's go through this report from TMZ. I was also reading through the court document. It's a little bit, but if you guys like, I could include it in this for you guys as well. Now they're saying Tony Buzbee is taking legal steps to try to dismiss a Jay-Z lawsuit against him, claiming they struck a deal and Jay reneged, but Jay's camp says Buzbee is full of it. Buzbee, the Texas lawyer famous for representing 120 alleged Diddy victims, the cases which he is filing motion to withdraw, there was like 22 of them remaining, and he has filed a bunch of motion to withdraw from over 15 of those cases. So that in itself is very telling of how Buzbee takes care of his business and how he basically does business. If this is not indicative of who he is, I don't know what the heck else is. Now they're saying He filed new legal docs Monday to dismiss the defamation lawsuit Jay-Z filed against him in Alabama. That case is not going to be dismissed. He can try, but it's not going to be dismissed. They're saying Tony was representing the Jada who claimed Jay-Z and Diddy R-word her in New York back in 2000. She ultimately dropped the R-word lawsuit, and Jay-Z then sued her and Buzbee in Alabama, where she lives, over bringing the case in the first place. In the docs obtained by TMZ, Buzbee claims Jay used his fame and fortune to bully his accuser into changing her tune and dropping her all-word lawsuit. Buzbee argues Jay-Z is suing him in the wrong court and failed to lay out a legal basis for the suit, and he also claims there was some sort of agreement. Oh my God. Let's pause here a bit. Jay-Z's not suing him in the wrong court. Jay-Z can sue him in Alabama because that's where his client is from. Jay-Z is just facilitating his client, but Jay-Z is not facilitating Buzbee. And Buzbee is just so narcissistic that he doesn't even care about his client. Like, okay, I'm gonna have to defend me, so F you, client. F you. Jay-Z, you're suing me in the wrong courtroom. So you're saying that Jay-Z should move this where to Texas, and then your client has to travel each day for a hearing? Come on, Buzbee. Knowing that you can afford to travel to Alabama while your client can't. This is so messed up of Buzbee. Like, it's so truly messed up. But he's going to use everything that he can to his advantage in hopes of getting the case dismissed. But will it work? Absolutely not. Now, let's continue. They're saying in the docs, Buzbee says eventually the relentless pressure that Mr. Carter and his associate placed upon Doe became too much for her. On February 4th, 2025, an agreement to resolve the litigation was reached between Doe and Mr. Carter through their attorneys, which included the voluntary dismissal of the Southern District action. That's not true. It's not true. I'm going to tell you guys, there are several reasons as to why this is so false. Like, it's so false. I don't know how Buzbee, lies consistently. First thing, he didn't have the pro at Vichy. The attorney representing Diddy pointed out that to the ethics and compliance team of the court, saying that this man has been filing multiple lawsuits and he hasn't received the necessary documents to do so. So get a pro at Vichy, get a sponsor or his co-counsel, in this case, which is Curious. Curious filed the cases on his behalf. When he was brought to the court in front of the grievance committee, he then submitted the request for the Pro Act VC, which was denied. And it was denied, and as such, and so why he dropped the lawsuit. So there's so many things on Buzbee's end that indicates why he had to drop the lawsuit, because if he didn't, what would have happened is that he would then later file a motion to withdraw from the case or for the case to be dismissed. So he's telling so many lies. And during a litigation, right? If you go into a litigation, it means that you sign off on everything on the same day, or we're going to send the paperwork, you send the paperwork, and then everyone sign off. You make a note of it. You see what was agreed upon. So Buzbee is putting this out in the public because he's not really impressing the court here. He's trying to win back the public. He wants the public to think that Jay-Z is shady, but he knows that in the courtroom, this is not going to make any sense to the court. So he's using his politician PR move. As I said to you guys, this is what he does. He loves to weigh impression on the people. And then once he weighs that impression on the court of public opinion, he actually gets in trouble with the actual court. Because what he's saying here about, the agreement to resolve the litigation was reached between Doe and Carter through their attorney. It can't be that she was bullied and harassed and intimidated in dropping the suit and then they litigated. Like, it's not making any sense because we know that issue of the pro at BC is what led to Buzbee file dismissing this case. And someone was saying that Buzbee could have also had someone taken over her case or seek an extension. Nothing. He didn't do anything to assist his client. Now let's continue. They're saying that Jay-Z's camp says Tony is living in fantasy land when he suggests they reach an agreement. Jay-Z's attorney Alex Spiro tells TMZ total lie. He brought a false case, lost badly, and was forced to dismiss quickly. End of story. Tony Buzbee lawyer Marky Kazowicz tells TMZ Spiro's statement that there was no agreement is a total fabrication. There was an exchange of emails between me and Spiro which set forth the agreement very clearly. As a part of that agreement, Spiro agreed to withdraw the Rule 11 motion for sanction that he had brought against Mr. Buzbee law firm. I saw the agreement and I saw the court document. I'm going to see if I can find it back. And there was no agreement that Jay-Z would not go after Buzbee. If there was an agreement to withdraw the motion for sanction, we can see that they did keep up their end of the bargain because he did withdraw the motion for sanction. But Buzbee's still going to get sanctioned. He can't escape it. But Kazowicz is saying that what Kazowicz is saying, I don't see that in the document which they had submitted. Now they're saying Kazowicz continued, we agreed to withdraw the lawsuit that Jane Doe had brought for Allward against Jay-Z and Mr. Combs, even though Jane Doe continued to maintain that the allegation in that lawsuit were true. And Jay-Z and Spiro agreed not to send any more people to harass and intimidate Jane Doe and her family. That's not making any sense. What Kazowicz is saying, it's not making any sense because first things first, no client and their attorney is going to say to you, okay, we're going to call off the harassment. We're not going to harass your client anymore. They would not say this verbally to you, neither in a phone call nor email, because that would be them admitting to committing a crime. So it's really just not factual. It's not adding together. It's not making any sense. Now, they're saying 1 week later, Jay-Z and his lawyer breached that agreement flagrantly by sending supposed investigators to harass and intimidate Jane Doe and her family. Spiro has acknowledged in court docs Kazowicz did reach out to him about dismissing the Jane Doe suit against Jay and says he told him Jay-Z would never settle the lawsuit or pay any money to resolve it, given it was a heinous false accusation. Spiro says Kazowicz did request they stop investigating Buzbee's law firm, but says Kazowicz claiming there was an explicit agreement to back off Jane Doe is not true. Fact is, the Jane Doe filed to dismiss her case with prejudice, meaning it can't be refiled. And in that filing, there's no mention of any agreement with Jay-Z. And also, I do believe that if they had agreed to basically put an end to the lawsuit in terms of Buzbee and his client, they would not dismiss with prejudice. They would dismiss without prejudice. In case Jay-Z doesn't keep up his end of the bargain, they can always go back and refile. So I do find this to be salacious. I do find it to be not factual. And as such, I have to call everything that they're putting out there a darn lie. But I want to hear from you guys. What's your take on this? Because I find this to be getting more ridiculous and it's just so messy. It's not beautifully executed. It's not clean. And when something is not as clear and beautifully executed and as clean, you can tell that there's a lot of mess, a lot of lies involved in this mess. We're seeing things clearer on Jay-Z's side. Not saying that everything that they're saying can be taken, by face value, but things are a lot clearer on Jay-Z's side. With Buzbee, it's so muddy. They consistently muddy the waters to cause confusion. And you can tell that only when someone is lying or has something to hide, they consistently do things like this. But this is all I have to share in this video. This is just my 2 cents. I want to hear from you guys. What's your input? Thumbs up, share, subscribe. Peace.